My name is Christy, and this is Angel Talk, where the Archangels are real, relevant, and accessible to everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Let's talk. Hello and welcome to Angel Talk. Welcome to another message. I am Christy Michelle Riggs, and today we are going to be talking about guidance for the week of August the 9th through the 15th. And we had been doing for these angel awareness messages just one card. But if there's anything that the archangels have taught me, especially through this endeavor, it is that I am in fact co-creating, not individually creating. And so I'm only part of that. And my commitment to them, their commitment to me, was that they would guide my steps, they would guide my voice, they would guide me through this. And my commitment back to them is that I would always remember that it is a co-creation and that I would not try to force what I wanted over what I was being guided by them to share and to do. So they guided me today to pull two cards from two different decks, one card from each deck. And it's just a really, really beautiful message. I know it's going to be a blessing to you, and it's going to be very uplifting and give you some things that are really going to be helpful to you for healing. And so the two decks that we're going to be working with today are the Archangel Metatron Self-Mastery Oracle and the Wisdom of the Archangels deck. That's the Wisdom of the Archangels Oracle deck. And so what the angels want to talk to us about for this week, the 9th through the 15th, is some stuff that is being brought up for healing and purging, transmuting through the energies of these portals that are open, because they are very intense and they are bringing up a lot of emotion from really deep within, what I call seed type stuff. Because a lot of, we hear a lot of the time, you need to get to the root of the problem. You have to get to the root of it. And there was a seed from where that root sprouted. And so a lot of times we don't go deep enough to get to the actual seed. And I can tell you from experience that when you get to the actual seed, and it takes some digging, it takes some peeling back of layers. There are a lot of times a lot of weeds and a lot of layers there before you actually get to the seed. But when you find the seed, it changes everything, because then you have this awareness and you have this understanding of all of the experiences in your life and why things have happened, why you've made the choices that you've made, why certain cycles keep repeating themselves, why the hurts are often unresolved. You get the answers to so many of the biggest why questions that you have when you get to the seed, and you see how all of it is connected, even the stuff in your life that seems to be very isolated, like isolated incidents or things that seem to have no connection or relation. When you get to the seed, then you can understand how they are connected and how they are related. And so it's very important that we stay open even when it feels intense, and even when the energy bringing these things up can cause us to get in a place of fear because we fear those emotions. There's something within us, the inner child, that is still alive and well within each of us. We start to feel that pain of that original seed wound, and it can feel very intense. It can feel like it's going to swallow us up. It can feel very frightening. And the angels are really reminding us with this message and this guidance for this week to stay open, focus on that heart chakra, the high heart, and keeping that open, knowing that we are safe to experience these emotions and that we can trust that we are safe, because we would not be at a place where those things would be revealed to us or those things would come up for healing if we had not already mastered the other layers. So when we get to this seed layer, that's this bottom layer from where everything else sprouted, we can trust that even though it might be intense, that we don't have to be afraid of it, because it means that we have all of the tools. We've peeled back all of the layers and shown successful mastery with that. And so now we have all of the tools and the ability that we need within us to process through those bigger emotions, to allow them to come up and to work through them. And the thing is, we have so much assistance available to us. All we have to do is ask for it, either aloud or to ourselves. Like we've talked about this so many times. I try to encourage you guys with that as often as I can, because I know firsthand how much help is available. We do not have to do it alone. We are never alone, whether we want to be or not. We're not ever alone. But they will not infringe on our free will choice. They will not actively jump in and work with us unless we want it. They are beings of integrity, of the highest integrity. And I think it's a really beautiful thing. So I always want to remind you as much as I can that they're always there. And we are never a bother to them. I don't care how many questions we have to ask. I don't care how many times that we have to ask for help for the same thing over and over. It never exasperates them. They're never too busy. There's never a judgment. This is what they were created to do. And they're so happy when we ask for their help, because it's just like any other being. When it is expressing and doing what it was created to do, that's its divine purpose. And so that's when it shines. That's when it's the happiest. That's when it is expressing itself as source intended, which is its most beautiful expression. And so the archangels are no different. They love doing what they were created to do. And they've had many incarnations here on earth. And so they have experienced the hurts and the difficulties and the challenges, as well as the happiness and the bliss and the healing. They've experienced all of that, so that they have the compassion, they have the understanding, they have all of those tools. And the great thing about it, we have to remember, is that they are in a place where they have the highest perspective. They can see things that we often can't see, and they will help us to see those things too. And they will do it in the most loving and encouraging and just deeply, deeply healing way that is unique to you as an individual. They know exactly what is best for you, and in what way they need to appear to you, in what way they need to get your attention, in what way is going to be for your highest and greatest benefit. And so you get a custom fit experience every time that you work with them. And I think that that's just a really beautiful thing. And so I wanted to take a minute and just remind you guys of that they are available. We don't have to do this alone. And so they are drawing my attention to, as these seed type wounds are being brought up so that we can work through them and we can process them. And even, I will say this too, even if this is something that we thought that we had already healed and processed and transmuted, it could be coming up again, or coming up for a third or fourth time. Our awareness could be being drawn to something that maybe was even a little bit deeper, that could use a different or a fresh look at it, a different perspective, or just a deeper sense of understanding. So when these things come up, it's important that we don't get frustrated or think that in some way that we have failed, or that we missed something, or that, oh gosh, here we go again. I was, thought I was already done with this. That we can see it as like a sense of encouragement that we have successfully mastered so many of these other things, and we've successfully processed so many of these other layers of this, that it's a privilege to be able to look at it from an even deeper perspective. And it's something that we've earned because we have gone within and we have made the choice to not live in a victim mindset anymore. We've turned all of that within and set about the process of healing these wounds. And sometimes when they come up, what I've learned just fairly recently that I want to share with you is that sometimes when these things come up for review and evaluation again, it's just to show us how far we've come. It's just like a pat on the back. It's like a reminder for us to stop and really take evaluation of all that we've healed and how far that we've come, and that we are not the same. We have embodied so much light where there used to be density. And there's so much more peace where there used to be anguish and pain and hurt. And to think how that has changed each of us individually. And then you think how that ripples out into every life and every situation that we come into contact with. I just am overwhelmed with gratitude when I think about that. It's such a humbling feeling. It's such a good feeling. And so when I pulled these cards today, having no idea what the angels wanted to talk about today for this week, I just always ask to be guided and to be shown a clear and direct message that would be for humanity's highest and greatest benefit. What angels, what do you want me to share with them for this? Show me, tell me. And so I'm just as surprised by it as you guys are. And when I pulled these two cards and I laid them side by side, and I got choked up. Excuse me. I got, like I am now, I got choked up because it was one of those moments that was a reminder to me of how different my life is and how different my heart is and how different my experience is because of healing these things, because of having this understanding. And I feel so grateful for this healing, and I can already see how my healing in surrounding these areas and these seed type wounds, I'm already seeing how that has rippled out onto the next generation and how this cascading effect starts to happen. And it just stirs in me this gratitude that is so profound. And so I'm really glad that I get to talk to you guys about this today, because it's so very near and dear to my heart, and it is so very important that we understand this and are able to remain in a state of willingness to work through it, even when it becomes uncomfortable or intense. Because what's on the other side of it really is a different way, and it really is a way that brings about true peace and true healing and true safety and true trust and faith, both in the external and also the internal. You learn to trust yourself and have faith in yourself. And I don't know about you guys, but I know for me that's something that I didn't know anything about until much later in my life. And so I'm really happy to be able to share this with you guys. So the first card that I pulled, and I'll try not to get choked up again, but if I do, it's okay, is the number 29 card. And if you remember, excuse me, I get choked up again. The number 2 and the 9 make the master number 11. Now, this is a number that, like we talked before, means illumination. It means light. And what the angels have also given me through this message is that it is also the number that connects us with the divine feminine energy. And so the angels shared with me that a lot of what is being brought up for healing during this Lionsgate portal and the 8-8 portal, and just during this time overall, this time of rapid awakening, but particularly while these portals are open and we're getting a greater influx of energy, is this mother wound and this false divine feminine archetype that we've been talking about. We've been trying to understand how so many things have been adulterated because of, and where we need to heal those things so that we can understand and embody the authentic divine feminine qualities and the authentic divine feminine archetype. And so I think it's really neat that, like we've talked before, and this is a wonderful reminder, this card is excuse me, I didn't even tell you what the card was. It's the number 29 card, and it says blue, and the card is just the most beautiful color of blue. And it says Madonna and mothering. And so the figure on the card is the artist's representation of the divine feminine, or our divine mother. And she is surrounded in just a field of blue and has a star just above her crown chakra, just above her head. And so the angels are telling us that if these things are coming up, if you are experiencing things in your life, either through actual manifested experience or the experience of the feelings coming up, which they're reminding me is really the same thing, because whenever the feelings and the thoughts and the memories come into our now moment and our current awareness, we are bringing those experiences into our now moment, because there is no past and there is no future. So when we think and we remember and we imagine and we feel those things, that is our actual experience. We're bringing that into the now moment. And so as these things come up and are brought into our now moment, either in thought or feeling, or if we are actually in physical situations where these things have manifested, so that we can have a greater understanding and bring healing to these things, that what we can focus on and what we can remember is that no matter what our experience has been with our own mother or mother figure, we have a divine mother. And the divine mother is the full embodiment of the authentic divine feminine qualities. She is silent and strong and calm and still. It does not matter what is going on in the world or what needs to be done or changed or acted upon. She is unmoved. All that she is concerned about is offering us safety and a resting place. She's within each and every one of us. That is the divine feminine that is within each and every one of us, is the spirit of the divine mother. And so if we can understand that, and we can heal this relationship with the divine feminine, we can heal this mother wound by focusing on the authentic divine mother, and know that she is within each of us. We have a place of safety within each of us, so that even if our earthly mother or mother figure or experience with any other feminine energy that is embodying a false divine feminine expression, that we have to understand why that's happened, and we have to understand that it doesn't have to be that way, and that that's a lot of what this change right now is about. And so what the angels want us to understand is that, like we've talked, I think, once before in a previous message, it is safe to dive into these things as they are brought up, as that wave of emotion. We can think of it like a wave. And as those waves of emotion start to come up within you, instead of resisting them and instead of trying to suppress them because of the pain that brings up, and because of that fear that we're not safe. Because what we have to understand is that when we have a very distorted experience with the mother figure, when we have, and it gives us a very distorted experience and understanding of the divine feminine energy, that leaves us feeling very, very unsafe from a very early age, from as far back as we can remember. And what many have learned is that is not to be trusted, that we are not safe around that in its presence. It is not safe And so what can happen is that when we are very small, because that distorted feminine energy was not safe, and we were aware that it was not safe, we could start to almost have this sense of like being an orphan. And what I mean by that is whenever we are very small, and the place that we are supposed to be able to depend on for complete safety and a resting place and guidance, and when we are hurting, when we are scared, when we don't know what to do, when we need something, when we need to be nurtured, we need to be taught, we need to be held, we need to be uplifted, we need to be kept safe. When we're not provided with those things, it distorts our experience with the divine also. Because when we're very small, that is our relationship to the divine. That's where our subconscious makes that connection. Because when we come into this earth, when we come into these bodies, we're in full remembrance that we have a mother, and of what the authentic energy and expression of that is. And so you can see how that can be very distorting to have that full awareness. And then just as that awareness is being socialized out, excuse me, there's an ambulance going by my apartment right now. I apologize. Just as that starts to be reprogrammed and pushed out of our awareness, there's this other figure that is going by the same name that is offering a very different set of, that is expressing a very different set of qualities and offering a very different set of experiences than what we associate in our soul and in our subconscious as mother. And so that is really that's what I'm being shown is really, really the reason for such massive distortion with this energy. And so what this card is, and this message is really wanting us to understand, is that when these feelings from this wound arise, if we will dive into it instead of resisting it or being afraid, what we will find is that what heals this distorted mother figure wound, or this distorted divine feminine, what will heal it is the authentic energy of that very thing. But we have to be willing to dive into it, to see with clear vision, to see things for what they are, to see energy for what it is when people express it. And I will say this too, and I didn't know if I was going to say this or not, but I do want to share this because it was very eye-opening and brought a sense of understanding for me, that really helped me with this. When it was given to me, when this message was given to me, I was doing some journaling the other day, and what was given to me as I was meditating on and thinking about this authentic divine feminine. What was given to me is that as this is healed, you're going to stop hearing the word narcissist. It's not going to exist anymore. Because our society has become so focused on throwing that word around. And I've done a lot of, just because of my own experiences from years ago and some things that have happened to me and some energies that I've encountered from years ago. It was very important to me to try to understand this term narcissist, because then that would help me to understand why why myself in particular, why I had those experiences. And so that was the basis for my questioning and my kind of study into the delving into that topic. And so what I've come to understand is that the reason that people start to exhibit these character traits and in turn hurt other people is because of these wounds that have been created by this distorted feminine energy. And so as this is healed and as these things are transmuted and as that archetype falls away and as the authentic divine feminine becomes balanced or becomes understood and embodied and balanced within each of us, doesn't matter if you're male or female. Remember, we've talked, we each have the feminine and the masculine within us. So as we understand how these distortions occurred and we heal that within ourselves, and then our interactions with others are changed because of it, and the whole energy of how we raise our families, how we interact with our partners, how we interact with our community, how we interact with our coworkers, how we interact with our experience, how we have our experience is completely changed. It's completely changed. And so by doing that, there's not going to be these resulting disorders or character traits, because those hurts aren't going to be there. And so the other thing that's really important to remember is that when we throw these words around like narcissist, underneath of those character traits is a very, very, very broken and fragmented spirit and soul that did not ask for that. Now, that doesn't mean that we, continue to allow people to treat us poorly or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm advocating. What I'm saying is that when we look past the label to see, well, why is that person behaving that way? We can see that it is because of a degree of hurt that is so profound and so heart-wrenching, heartbreaking, that it has caused that person to just be crushed and broken and distorted and fragmented. And so instead of judging that person, need to send healing energy to that person. Okay? And that doesn't mean that we do it while sitting right beside them. That's not what I'm advocating. But that's just an aside, that's another place that a profound amount of healing is going to be brought to, and we're not going to see those types of what they call cluster B personality traits, or I hate to call them disorders, but we're not going to see those characteristics, because the authentic divine feminine is going to be healed within each of us, which is going to heal it on the planet, and we won't have experiences that then perpetuate and cause those kind of things. So I thought that was really, really heartwarming to know that no one will have to suffer those kinds of things, and to understand just how far-reaching that is in our society, especially. And so what the angels are giving us is this message of love that is straight from the Divine Mother, that can be trusted, and that actually not only can be trusted, but that teaches us and helps us to see how we can trust ourselves, and that we have a continuous place of safety with the Divine Mother, that we always have access to within ourselves. And it is unfailing. It can be trusted. It can be depended upon. And it is teaching us that our values, if you remember we talked about values last week, the message that I'm given as to how that folds into this message is that our Divine Mother is teaching us about our values. We're just growing up. And if we can think about ourselves in that way, because our inner child is coming up to be reparented. We are parenting our own inner child. And the Divine Mother that is within us, the Divine Mother and Divine Father, that's who's doing that parenting. And so we're just growing up and we're learning our values. And our values, according to the authentic Divine Feminine and what our Divine Mother is teaching us, are to be placed on love and on compassion and on faith and trust. And the Divine Mother communicates to us in a very soft and steady way. She doesn't yell. She doesn't condemn. She doesn't shame. She doesn't create any place of worry or stress or fear. And she shows us how these values and everything that we do shows to the world who we are. And so she wants us to tune into that, tune into her voice. How many times have you done something or thought something or got ready to say something or already said something, and you could hear your mother's voice in your mind as to what she would think about that? And so the angels and the Divine Mother are asking us to tune in to that soft and steady voice of the Divine Mother. And as we get ready to action something, or as we are experiencing something, to not hear, to go past the voice of the distorted mother figure and tune into the Divine Mother as she asks us, is what we are getting ready to do, is what we are getting ready to say, is the action that we are getting ready to take, is that in alignment with divine flow and higher consciousness and higher plan? Is that from a place of peace and compassion, or is that another energy? Is that a distorted tone? Is that an energy that is not in alignment with that. And the Divine Mother has this, the energy of the Divine Mother has this presence that is steadfast and secure and safe and is unwavering, but there's no place for fear. There's no place for this energy of anger or retribution or punishment, or even, unfortunately, some can call into their memory almost a taking of joy in that punishment that was being offered. And there's no place for that with the Divine Mother. And so the beautiful thing about this is that when we can really tune into this energy and we can really begin to trust it, to trust ourselves, to live a life that is marked by the expression of these qualities, the expression of what our Divine Mother is teaching us. Then it creates a space within us. It creates an experience where we too become like this Divine Mother energy, where nothing can knock her off balance. Nothing can rock her. Nothing can take her down and crush her and crumble her. Nothing can alter her sense of herself and the way that she sees the world, the lens through which she sees things. Nothing can stop the flow of her cup of love, her cup of encouragement, her cup of compassion, her cup of safety, her cup of rest and peace, all of these things that she offers us. Nothing can cause that to run out. Nothing can cause her to have a bad day and then there be no supply of that. It is always freely and fully flowing and always within us, available to us. And so what the angels want me to offer as we wrap up this message is, and this is what choked me up so much before, this card from this second deck. And the message written on the card simply says, "You are a beautiful child of love." And the Divine Mother, that is a message directly from the Divine Mother for those of us that maybe never heard that, and that either have struggled or still struggle with needing to hear that or wanting to hear that, or maybe believing different things about ourselves because we didn't hear that, or we heard very different things about ourselves. And the Divine Mother is here to tell us, you are beautiful. You are perfect. You are good. You are safe. You are capable. You are so loved. You are loved beyond measure. And so I'm so glad to be able to offer that message to you guys today. I'm so grateful for the healing that has taken place in my life. And I'm so grateful for the healing that is taking place collectively on this planet, because it was so needed. And as this healing takes place, as these things are being brought up, call on your Divine Mother, call on the angels, call on Source, call on Jesus, call on Buddha, call on, you have a whole universe full of beings and of energy that love you unconditionally and are there and available and ready and willing to help you learn to love yourself, to see yourself the way that the Divine Mother sees you. That you are an absolute miracle and that you are perfect and not lacking in any way. And then what that will cause is an complete and everlasting anchoring of the authentic mother archetype into this planet. And it will bring up the next generation of souls to where these hurts never have to be experienced again. These distortions never have to be experienced again. And then the resulting hurts because of those distortions. It heals past, present, and future. And so it's a big, important message. It's a big, important healing that is available to us now. And I thank each and every one of you for allowing me to share that with you. It's just so profound. That has been the most profound healing in my life. And I would venture to say that it will be the most profound healing in many of your lives. So I thank you very, very much. And we will talk again very soon.
I am not an island. I want to feel the connection.